It's time for the final episode of Season 1 of Just Create. Over the past months, this world has grown from a small start to something massive, filled with factories, trains, massive builds, and way too much terraforming. So today, we're taking a step back and walking through all the builds that I've created on Just Create Season 1. And if you have enjoyed Season 1, make sure to subscribe because Season 2 is coming up in spring 2026. Oh, and give it a like, and the full world download can be found in my Discord. And I figured what better place to start than the Spawn Valley Lake that we have here. And it is so laggy that I have to play on 12 render distance. There are a few builds over there that I can't see, unfortunately, but we're mainly going to be focusing on my builds for this world tour, which brings us to the pre-starter base. And this is something that I never really build in a world. I usually go straight for the main starter base, but Beardy inspired me by building his little van, and I thought I could do that, and I built this little abandoned tram. It's got pretty much everything you need for the first couple of days in a create world. It's got some manual machines, it's got storage, it's got a bed, it's got some crafting table. It's got as much as I could fit in here, really. Even some more things here on the outside, like the millstone, more storage. And I didn't actually move into the main starter base right after that. I first went and built an iron farm because it is something so crucial in a create world, and I'm pretty sure Foxy has turned this off because it was creating a bit of lag when he was chunk loading. Yeah, it's broken. But it's a cute little iron farm here on a little pond where we just take a quick little rocket. I had some custom terrain here leading down into the water before Foxy built this little dock. And moving swiftly on to episode 3, we've got the actual starter base here, where something I was really fond of at the start of Just Create was these no overhang roofs, which I know a lot of people weren't really enjoying that much, but I had a ton of fun creating these ones with more shading focused on trying to bring in that detail, where I've kind of gone for trying to create a abandoned train station slash tram station, considering the tram is on this train track, with a little platform here leading into our back door, which goes into my create workshop, and actually the only proper create workshop I had, which I do think, yeah, works if you just flip the lever to turn it on. There's a bunch of storage down here that I didn't really use all that much. Got a little smelter area over here where I've got my random fishing rod dropper, fun thing that we do on streams. Got the first create mod storage system that I've ever built as well, and the pig that kept changing sub to people. Got a little output chest for that here, and we'll have a look at the storage here in a second. First, the second floor, which has everything you really need. It had a small little storage for just adding that little bit of extra storage, and it had an enchanting table, it had the output for the storage, it got my bed. And if we head out the back here, back down to the platform, we got the nether portal that everyone has been using to get back to spawn. We never actually made a proper one in spawn itself. Hidden away in a little terrain tunnel, which I thought was a really fun idea. And before we move over to the storage, which is where these power lines, or well, chain conveyors go, I want to have a look at another building I built in episode 3, which is the XP farm. And it looks like it's been Halloweenified. Even though it's past Christmas now. Oh, very much Halloweenified. This is a XP farm and my villager place, where I had a bunch of librarians up here selling all of the enchanted books that I needed throughout the season. And if we head down into the basement level, we've got the XP farm that pretty much got all of our enchantments early on in the world. And I can't actually see this in a good way without hopping into free camp, but there's 5 spawners in here that supplied a pretty healthy supply of mobs. Still really slow because it was regular mobs only, but it worked. And it was a good bone meal supply for a while. The outside of this building, I'm still really enjoying that no overhang style. I think these roof windows turned out really good. They're a little blocky, but I do still like them a lot. I also like the sign here on the side. Would have been fun to have like the big signs mod and write with like big text on it. This front area here is one of my favorite bits as well, with the little hanging banner of sort with the rope pulley and the sliding doors connected with this industrial iron. Just a bunch of vegetation here around the back, a bunch of chimneys to exhaust out the, well, I don't really know what you're gonna exhaust out. The fumes, the dust from the skeletons in the farm. Not really sure. But continuing on along this back road here, we have my storage building here at spawn, which is actually the storage I used for, I would like to say, about half the season. And I did try to sell this space up here to Legion, but he didn't want to buy it. So that just stayed empty. Has a little stables down here where our horse chariot sits. I built the stables, put the horse in here, and I don't think I ever took them out again. Oh boy. Well, that's why we like the forever world. We run around with a horse in there nearly 500 days now. However, there's doors missing apparently. It must have been some zombies. Stepping up to the second floor, here is the main storage for my starter area, where it's just two giant vaults here connected up with some frog ports, which is connected up to the stock ticker at my starter base. And it's a little slow because, well, the vaults are a little far from my base, but I do like that it was a separate building and it was a really fun project to do. Still really just enjoying the no overhangs, as I kind of decided to stick with that theme throughout this little area. I've done a few more decorations here on the front with a beetroot field and a wheat field over towards Egg's area, where it transitions off into his builds, and then further on up to Throwlash, the Jojo, back over to Chosen, and around to Beardy. Oh, and Foxy, well, who moved this island up in the sky. And something that I was really focusing on early on in this world is making new custom trees. Ever since Just Create started, I was trying to make a custom tree with every single episode, and I have improved so much at building trees. It has been really, really fun to see. I'm still carrying on this tradition in my forever world, but I'm not forcing myself to build a new tree every week. I'm just adding custom trees to the world, and whenever I have the inspiration to make a new tree, I do make a new tree. And you know, this is maybe a good time to ask you to subscribe if you're enjoying, and if you don't want to miss season 2, which should start around spring in 2026. And also, if you want to see all of these builds yourself, you want to explore the entire world, there's a world download. You can find it in my Discord. You can find it in the Just Create community Discord. I'll leave both of those links down below. But back to the final build that I have done in the starter area is the castle. And this build is probably, if not my favorite build I've ever made in Minecraft. I absolutely love it. If we just take to the skies here a little bit to just get a bit more of an overview, you sort of have a culmination of everything I did in this area, where I tried some new styles with some custom trees. I've got the terrain that I had going on down here, and you have the no overhangs, you have the texturing I was trying out, and it was just such a fun build to make. Not only that, it is also extremely functional. Around the back here is a sugarcane field, which is where I got my paper supply. And then inside of the castle itself is a creeper farm, where I built a big old creeper farm here underground with a ton of cats, probably producing a ton of lag at spawn, so probably won't do that next season. But this farm was great. This has been my source of XP pretty much the entire season, and it was great. And I mean, I wish it got me a lot of money selling gunpowder, but I didn't really make a lot of money selling gunpowder. I made some, and I probably would have made more had we been a few more people. I think that's the biggest issue. But there's an elevator that keeps on breaking that actually isn't broken right now. That brings us down to the storage level and back down to the entrance. But I have a village about 500 to 1,000 blocks in that direction, and that was actually connected up to this castle and the gunpowder supply here, where the village could request gunpowder to create rockets. If we just hop into free cam mode a little bit here, you have this chute going down that then goes down to these bells and travels over to the train station and gets loaded onto trains, and it semi-worked. It worked in periods. I don't really know. Don't really ask me. Leaving spawn itself behind now, I want to head into the shopping district, which is literally right next door, as I've done a couple of things around here. The first thing that we did, and the first buildings in the shopping district, is these three here. Beardy built the outside and I built the interior. This being my rocket shop that I was hoping was going to make me a lot of money, and well, it didn't really pay out, and it's also very explosive. I was told a good couple of times that I should replace them with some copycat blocks, and well, let me just look at this paper store that me and Beardy never actually put any stock into. And this one, which I built the interior for, and that is Beardy's. And let me just... Ooh. Explosive. Oh, right. That ruined the roads underneath. Oh, well. Yeah, I'm on the actual server, but we did end a while ago. We'll come back to the back here, as I want to pop around the front over on this side first, where I have a few more shops where I tried a new style, as everyone was kind of going for a bit more of a modern style that I'm usually used to. So I tried by hand at making some apartment buildings inside of a city. And I also built this little cyberpunk inspired build, which is a lot of fun when you have the copycat blocks, because you can get a lot of color and detail in there. This here is a little Froglight shop that me and Throlash had, and next door to this is Stam's Stems, which is my tree shop. And the tree shop is definitely something I'm bringing back next season. It wasn't that popular, this one, but I had a lot of fun. And there are a bunch of pictures of the trees in here. You can go through and look at the catalog of them, and then you can go into this room and you can buy them. They were fairly expensive, but you sort of bought the rights to use the schematic, and I thought it was a really fun business idea. We'll see maybe if it has a bit more activity next season. But coming around here, we can walk out front. I had some plans to eventually create like a flower store and a bunch of other things out on this side here, but I never got around to it, and that's kind of just left it a little incomplete. But I did expand over this way just to finish off this city block of shops when Beardy had built this in. And I built the colorful apartments here and put a, definitely not IKEA ripoff, the saw, Stam's attractive wood, with a angry Swede in here, which is probably why I never got any customers. Well, he's actually just antisocial. But the store is completely stocked with every single type of wood in all of its different forms, so that you don't have to do the tedious crafting yourself. You can just come here. And I actually don't think, nope, yeah, this didn't sell anything. And probably a little too late for building that, wasn't I? To be fair, not selling anything is probably the story of my shops this season. Right. Coming around here, running past some of Beardy's shops, and between Beardy's and Chosen's shop, we can come into the back alley area, which I decorated up because it was really ugly and really incomplete. And oh, they never fixed the backs of their builds. Oh man. But I created this little gravelly path leading through the back of the shopping district. I actually made backs to my builds, sorted out some back sides over here, added in some custom trees into the environment. It's just a bunch of boxes and back door stuff to the shops, really, and some fire escapes. And one of my favorite builds this season, this little mini basketball court. I had a lot of fun using copycat bytes for once, a block I rarely use because I kind of like the limitations of Minecraft. I let myself let loose a little bit at spawn, and I had a ton of fun creating this little miniature basketball course with a little pumpkin as our basketball. You got the hoops, and I really just love the atmosphere that this brought into the area. Coming back around down here, I built one final thing at spawn, and it was a mini game, and I think people had a little bit of fun with it. If we just go ahead and click this button, this burning dumpster fire over here is gonna open up to us. Wait around for just a second, the door will open and we can step on in. Hoping that timing of this hasn't, nope, there we go. But we are going down into the depths of the sewers, where extra review, fun 9 out of 10, replayability 2 out of 10. Yeah, well, DLC, yes, please. Oh, playing stuck for 2 days. I had a lot of fun jumping around and solving puzzles. Get your noodles right next time. Yeah, the redstone broke a little bit, but I made this giant sewer system as a lobby room for some escape rooms, and the escape rooms were actually really cool, and I have some ideas of escape rooms myself. The 2 escape rooms that are built on the server are actually created by viewers, if I'm not misremembering, Dad Archer and Clockwork Giant. There is some rules here. You pay over here, and eggs actually paid. Oh, I made diamonds from this one. There's some times over here for the fastest runs. There's some how to play and the rules. And if we step on over here, we got some places to leave your gear, the green neon arrows to follow to get around to the entrance, which is slightly unfinished, but you have the great train heist and you have the abandoned Tinkerer factory. I'm not going to look too closely at those, but they are really, really cool. And I'm pretty sure you can still download them in my Discord if you want to play them yourself, along with all of the other submissions for the build event that we had. But to head back on out, you just click the button over here and you go back up. And to be fair, this should also be working on the server if you get yourself the world download. Although I know they're a slightly little bit broken. Right, it is nearly time to leave spawn now. And we're gonna gloss over the train station real quick and head over to the train warehouse, which is one of the final projects that I did bar the shopping stuff at spawn, and it was a place where the trains all around the world would arrive and drop off its items to then be distributed into the shopping district. And well, it worked sort of. Like most of my logistic things, it was a bit of a mess, but it definitely did work from time to time. I know me and Beardy set up systems for it to be running. I think Beardy got it running better than I did, but we did have it working, and I did have items being delivered from my base to here to the van, which then delivered it out into the spawn town, and that was a ton of fun to see. I think the system could be improved upon so much, and we'll see. Maybe next season we'll make a better system of this. Might be a little easier as well if we were to have Steam and Rails. But this was a really fun project nonetheless. It was a definite test to my skills when it comes to train scheduling, the new post boxes, the frog ports, and all of that, and a bit of a headache, but it was fun nonetheless. And I guess before we do leave spawn, we should head over to the courthouse where the court case between me and Foxy No-Tail took place. Big part of the lore of the SMP. And is this still Silent Whisper's body? It is still here. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm glad I won this in a crushing defeat. Why is Arthur's head over there? Right. It was a crushing defeat. Foxy did not stand a chance. It was good. Right, back over to the train station now, where I first of all sort of have a build. I've got a little rocket shop here, and I had a flower store here that sells moss, and yeah, that's about it. This was gonna sell flowers, and I never made the flower farms, but I had plans to make flower farms. Anyhow, let's head over the tracks here and find our way inside the cockpit of the Copper Pot, one of the trains that I built, and we'll head off towards my base. We're just gonna lead through this tunnel here, which I built kind of small, and then Legion pushed up, broke Shosen's Mall up top. That was a very funny moment. I thought about warning him to not do that, and I didn't, so maybe blame falls slightly on me, but it's fine. Coming over here to the other side of this though is one of the bigger projects I actually did in this world. If we just come to a stop right here, I did a ton of custom terraforming here to create a custom train track, and I had a lot of fun playing around in this area. I really like how the terrain and vegetation came out here, with the rocks coming through, with all of the vegetation, the little rivers flowing through, the train bridge in the middle of it all. We've got a cavern over here that the train passes through, and I had a really fun time creating this project, and I definitely am looking forward to create a lot more of these like vegetation things in season 2. I have a pretty fun base idea. I'm not going to spoil too much, but you know, if you are watching this, you might get a little tad bit. I do have a lot of plants, and they involve a forest, and that's pretty much all I'm gonna say, unless they change, I guess. But continuing on from this, we're currently traveling along the 30,000 block long train track that I built to get out to the main base. There is a ton of custom terraforming along this route. There are a few spots that I wanted to touch up even more, but it is a pretty fun trip to take. Just put some coal in the back, and now we're zooming off to not my mega base, but a small little village project that I started and unfortunately never finished. We're gonna stop off here and stop at the retextured starter base. I was a little lazy, admittedly, and I copied over the starter base and just retextured it, mainly because I thought it made sense to have an identical train station here as to over at spawn, because cheaper getting the architectural plans for one building and not two different buildings. But fairly simple interior, actually a bit more of a station this time. Got a little bedroom up here, which actually quick little nap. Come back downstairs, just a lot of waiting area and all of that. Never actually hooked up the display thing. And this building is something I created when we added pale moss to the world. Well, actually we might have added it earlier, but this is when we had pale moss at least, and I really wanted to build with pale moss for the first time ever. So I created this little building. It doesn't have an interior, it has a floor and all that stuff, but it has a really cozy vibe. There is a little lily of the valley field out over on this side with a custom oak tree tree next to it. Got a custom birch tree. And we have a little river's edge here that I transformed. I really like how these cliffs turned out on this side. And I really just like the vibe from this side here. We have the custom river flowing over this way. We got the bridge. There's a nether portal hidden underneath there. And then out on this side, I spent a good little while creating this custom lake. Coming around to the front is the two other buildings. Oh, well, I guess that one also counts. But I had plans for like 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 more houses in here. And a little fishing area over there that I never got around to, unfortunately. But we have the Moss Manor. Yeah, the Moss Estate. Sorry, the Moss Manor is a better name though. Oh well. This was originally a moss farm. I'm pretty sure that I've torn down... Yes, I tore down the moss farm in here and relocated it to my mega base eventually. But this was a moss farm and my plan for this area had been to automate things like grass, ferns, bone meal, moss, and all of that kind of stuff into this little storage building here that should still have a bunch of items. Yeah, it does. Got a little manual storage area over on this side and no way to actually cross over to the other side other than I guess walking under the bridge, and then there's no path connecting anyways. Got this little side here. I was still sort of enjoying the like no overhangs, the as you can tell by all these buildings. I was trying out a few different colors and stuff, and I was starting to introduce back a few overhangs because I do like overhangs and I also like no overhangs. So I'm kind of right now in a point where I'm doing a mix of both. It kind of depends and it goes from building to building. But this is the opposite side of this here where I tried my best to work with some blue tones, which is a really hard tone to actually work with, especially like with the clay and the light blue terracotta. Never mind that. I got a field here that I never planted, right? Great stem. And then we have the Rocket Factory, which is a collaboration build together with Beardy, where I made the exterior and Beardy made the interior. It was created in the same episode that the rocket shop was created back at spawn, where he built the exterior there, I built the interior, and then we swapped. And it was a really fun project. He created this little bot workshop in here, which these bots became a thing later on, and that was a lot of fun. You have a sugarcane farm out here on the back. Got some water towers as well, as I kind of made this into a sort of lumber mill. Got the bot here delivering that sugar cane, and the rocket factory in here, where this is where gunpowder was delivered using the copper pot back from spawn all the way over here. And it's a really cool system because if you didn't know, the stock links and the create storage has an infinite distance, and it is really cool and works really well. Just gotta do the proper chunk loading, which I didn't really do, but it's fine. Right, that is the final building in this area though. So let's head back onto the train and complete the rest of what I want to say is another 1,500 blocks or so to the mega base. Going over a bridge here at the diagonal where we come into a little custom spruce forest I made, as I wanted to build some custom spruce trees really, and I just sprinkled it throughout. I do really want to do an actual spruce forest at some point. World is struggling to load in a little bit as we head over the final... No, actually that's not the final bridge before the mega base, but we are going to start to load into the area of the mega base here, and this is where we're gonna sort of get a little out of order as this base is very much spread out. I was jumping across everything, and I just want to give it the chance to load in here, as this is one of the most beautiful entrances to a base that I have. And unfortunately there are a lot of things around this base which is unfinished, because I very much lost motivation towards the end because I was pretty much playing on the server alone. But loading in here, you see the sawmill, you see my custom mountain range, and hopefully where that spinning windmill is at the moment, you should see the actual mega base. There we go. Just gonna hop off here. I think what we're gonna do is start on the opposite side, heading through the mega base over to this side, which is actually where I began construction on the mega base. Well, that's actually a lie. The first build is over at the gas garage, but I'm counting this as the first one. Where the first thing I actually did in this area was create a 300 block long custom river. One of the favorite projects I've done in this world, actually, with a custom diagonal train bridge, a ton of custom terrain next to the water here with a bunch of firefly bushes, a bunch of vegetation, and this is all hand dug, as I pretty much didn't really use a drill this entire season, bar a few small things here and there. And this all sat about 10 blocks above the water level, and it was about 20 hours of digging or so. And well, I really like digging. and I had a lot of fun creating this. Then we are heading over to this project, which, oh, the grass hasn't even grown here, which is a kind of split project. Most of this project, this area here, is an older factory complex castle sort of thing that's been converted into a more modern factory, and then there's some additions to this that has been the newer factory. And this older factory is my cobblestone farm, which is the first giant factory I did. And originally I planned for this to supply stone to literally everything, but it didn't really pan out great. But just taking a step back here, I do really like how the build came out. It was a style that I'm not really that comfortable with, but I do think it turned out really good nonetheless. And you have this giant entrance here where the train track carries in, and you have the export of blocks back to the mega base. And in here we have 4 giant cobblestone farms, and I think this produced around 500,000 cobblestone an hour if all 4 of them were running, which is a fair bit. Although actually that's being brought down because I built this before they changed it, so adding more drills to 1 cobblestone doesn't actually increase rates. So this is probably half now, around maybe 200,000. In this area over here, I made a little blackstone farm and a little regular stone farm, mainly just to export throughout the base. And then a later addition, actually these are the 2 last factories I built in the world. We have the sand and gravel factory over here, which takes the cobblestone from that and creates sand and gravel. I have a little courtyard down here, and then coming over into this building is probably something I would have built more farms in, like terracotta and stuff. Currently only a brick farm. Well, there will only be a brick farm in here, but had I actually made this earlier in the world, there would have definitely also been a terracotta farm and probably some other building material related farms. Right, heading out of this, we see one of the trains being active, which this system actually worked, where I had all of my farms, I had outputs right there, for example, where items were exported and routed into my megabase storage, and that system actually worked, and I was so happy with it, because the entire plan for this megabase kind of stemmed from the time that I had when I played on a Recreate about a year ago, where I made a base that was really compact, and it became extremely laggy really quickly. In hindsight now, it was mainly the server provider and the server that was pretty bad, and now that we've switched to Nodecraft, which powers this server, we have had way less server issues. I mean, Create is still really taxing, but it's nowhere near as close. And I mean, you can pick up a server yourself for 30% off using my link in the description, and it directly supports me. I never really plugged that, but they are great, and they've helped us so much to figure out lag and upgrade the machine that the server is running on this season. It's been great. And we'll get back to the idea, and I just want to look at the quartz factory real quick, which is a little building here to fill out the plains biome. Takes cobblestone from the cobblestone farm, runs it through to create our quartz right down here, and also a little bit of gold that it doesn't really ever create any. And I made this quartz farm in hopes that I was going to use it together with the redstone farm to create an electron tube factory down here, another project that I never got around to. But before we get to the redstone factory, let's walk over this way and back to where this entire base idea came from, because since I had that really laggy compact base, I wanted to create a much larger, much more expansive base connected via trains with a central hub where all of the resources are funneled into, and I would argue that I've succeeded in that. I definitely had a lot of plans that I never got around to. I actually had a giant plan to create a giant mountain here with an iron mine at the bottom of it. I had a plan to create a giant foundry building here to create copper, zinc, and gold, and iron. To be fair, I never actually made an iron farm in this area, but time constraints, motivation, and all of that unfortunately sort of set stop to it. But this brings us to the tough factory, and we'll just head around to the prod real quick here, as this is kind of the main point of view this. And I found a inspo picture that I really liked, and that is kind of where this entire design and build stems from. Inside is a mess, and when I was recording this episode, I had my hard drive fail and I lost pretty much all the footage. I struggled so badly, and honestly, this farm is probably the cause for me losing motivation on this series, which is really unfortunate. After this, I kind of just focused on building and having more fun, which also is, well, I guess good, because I was doing a bit more of what I wanted to do, which was fun. But yeah, it's a big old mess. It's terrible. It's terrible. Next season, I definitely think I'm going to create the farms and then probably just hide them in the basements of builds. I think I'm going to enjoy that a lot more. But we have an output storage here, and this farm creates both tough andesite, granite, and diorite. Super, super fantastic farm. Now back over the bridge, we have the redstone factory, where I added a little walking path here around the back to take us underneath this little bridge. And eventually this was going to lead off to that like crafting factory to just create a lot of different things, like create components, electron tubes, all of that jazz that I didn't really want to craft myself. And you have a little courtyard here where my actual redstone storage, and you have some bit of decorational things here on the outside. Well, functional / decorational, because these are actually the strength potions that are used to create the redstone out of the cinder flower. And we have a mod on the server called Stamio Tweaks, which adds a recipe for netherrack with netherwart and stone, where I'm importing blaze rods all the way from Chosen's area, where if we open up the map, this is where the redstone factory is, and Chosen's area where, oh, my map has reset. Chosen's blaze farm is all the way down here, literally like 4,000 or 5,000 blocks away. And that is just one of the really cool things that you can so easily set up with the stock links. What are they called? Are they called stock links? No, they're called factory gauges. Yeah, they're really cool. They were a ton of fun to use. But over on this side, you have a wart farm that is currently broken because the minecart's stuck. You got all the system here to create the redstone and all that stuff moving upwards. I'm also importing stone over from the stone cobblestone factory to do these chain conveyors here. And also a quick shout out to the floating terrain. Yeah, I pretty much did custom terrain for this entire base, which was both a blessing and a curse. I had a lot of grinding to do to complete it. But there's a few more custom trees out here on the outside. Unfortunately, I never got to actually add in foliage here. One of the things missing around the base. And I think we're going to tackle the mega base last, and we're kind of going to take the sides first, because if we look on the map here, my kind of plan was to have this central storage module, this central train hub with train tracks stretching out from all sides from that. And we've kind of now checked off this side of that build and almost got hit by a train. So let's head up to the north one, which is actually where the first ever build in this area is from, the Happy Gas Garage. This was around the time that Happy Gas were released, and we had a backport mod that actually released them early, and I had some fun and made a little garage for them. I never really used the Happy Gas that much. I think I've used them once or twice since I built this, but they're kind of cute and they're kind of fun to just have around. This was also a bit of a testing grounds for the custom terraforming for the mega base, and my eventual plan was actually to open this up here into a garage to hold a bunch of mining drills and stuff like that I never got around to making, and that's why I never made a drill, because I wanted to build that first. But you have the train tracks coming down through here around the back where they enter in, oh hi Happy Gas, to a train station, a big old room down here, one of the only areas excavated by a drill in my base, where all the trains that transport materials around the mega base sits and waits for orders. We're popping out on the front here. We have a bunch of just junk, and this is the building front, where I've gone back to kind of now using more overhangs. This is kind of inspired by the mega base itself, just because I thought it'd be nice if this was kind of resemblance of that, because they work very closely together. And I think I've improved my texturing a lot as this season has progressed. I'm looking back, I mean, I would look back a year, probably at the start of Recreate is when I really try to improve how I texture things in Minecraft, and I've had a lot of fun doing that since then, where I also created another little river, which is a sidetrack from all of the texturing stuff. I don't really know. I don't really do world tours that often, and I'm kind of just yapping, but hey, yapping is kind of my job. And if you like my yapping, you should check out my streams. But this is the second custom river, third one maybe if you count the little one over at the village. And we also have a big old wheat field here because I thought it looked cool at the bottom of the mountain. Then over here on the side towards spawn, we have a little farming region. This is a little area that I kind of just built in. This was one of those empty plains areas that I actually went and put the time and effort into decorating, and I actually really enjoyed this little build. There's a small little barn here. Had I been playing this world for longer, I probably would have made this into an actual farm area where I had crops farmed and stuff with Create. There's a ton of custom trees. There's this vineyard sort of vibe, and this is a pretty good point to mention the lore of my mega base, where this is sort of a old part of it that isn't really being used that much anymore because everything is kind of autonomous around here. But in the past, before it was autonomous, there was actually people here working and they needed food. So there's a farm region smack dab in the middle to actually provide said food. I also had a bit of hope that I was gonna get walking areas throughout. Had I actually built these from the start, I probably would have succeeded in that, but I didn't. But this brings us over to a 3-part project where I made a wood empire sort of thing. And let's start at the first episode, which is this island, where I pretty much terraformed this entire island. I created well, I actually didn't create the river in this episode, but I transformed this entire island, built a ton of custom trees, and a tree farm for every single wood type except the nether trees that I never got around to. I had a space planned out in the basement for them, but I never actually built them. And this little warehouse here where all of the resources gets funneled back to. I'm pretty sure everything is broken because it was all minecart based, and minecarts very much like to break. But if we just run around here, we should at least see remnants. I mean, these are just decorational bots, but yeah, there's a bot over there, and they would pick up the resources from all of the farms and bring them back. And it was working great when it was working. And then wasn't working that great when it stopped working, obviously. Might try redoing something like this when we have narrow tracks and steam and rails, but this was just a fun little project that was a bit of an interesting take on wood farms, I think. The island is definitely a little unfinished because I think I went a little too big for the time that I gave myself, but it's fine. Over here, though, is the wood output, and this is actually a pretty cool system. Again, minecarts, kind of buggy, kind of doesn't work. Should have probably stuck to like 2 minecarts, but I think I added like 4 or 5 on each track. There's 3 tracks, so there's like 50 minecarts. And if we just wait here for a second, I saw one traveling under there. Yeah, you have a log coming out of the lumber storage here that goes into the river here. Unfortunately, it does not tilt, but that goes into the river. And if we just stand on this, we will go along a river, and this river is completely custom if you open up the map all around here. I didn't get to finishing all of the foliage. I only did it on the mega base side, but this river is about 1,000 blocks long all in all. And yeah, it was a massive undertaking, all dug in by hand out of a old river, partly. But not all of it. So there was a lot of digging and a lot of mud placing. But this goes over into the 3rd part of this episode sort of thing, which is the lumber storage. Well, actually, this was the 2nd part. And the logs go in here, and there's a barrel hidden inside of here with a portable storage interface that would then drop off the logs here, which puts them into this little log storage, which these are talking with the wood farms. And if one of these run low, they will turn on the wood farm and it would deliver more wood here. It worked flawlessly for a while before the minecarts broke. In here, though, I actually did an interior. Got a little office up here. This is just to transfer the resources up to the other storage. Got a sheep here so that I can request logs myself. And now we come up to the 3rd part of this project, which is the sawmill itself. And this is where all of those wood blocks that we saw back at the shopping district that I was selling is being produced. And this was actually a really fun project. To be fair, this entire 3-part project was really fun, and this has been tremendously useful. If I had had this earlier, that would have been a game changer. But this is pretty much a auto crafter for every single wood type in the game for every single resource. And the way it works is the items will come across up here. I can actually show you by just requesting something. We'll request some birch fences and some pale oak doors, where we should now see a bunch of packages flow in here that aren't going to be picked up by that guy. Instead, they're going to go through these different saws, which each one of these saws are set up to do a certain thing, like fences, doors, planks. Basically, they all accept all of the wood types, but these filters are set to like stairs. Oh boy, that just oops. It wasn't me. And then I had this bot here originally collecting them and like bringing them back to storage, but that was so slow, so I ended up having to add a conveyor belt system to the floor to actually keep up with the farm. Out over here, I have the saw train, which is the train that delivers these resources to spawn. And this is actually one of the only trains that really fully worked delivering resources, which was really nice. But yeah, got a little storage over here for all of them, where I'm storing a couple of stacks of each wood type. And pain and misery down in this hole, where this took so long to set up. This took probably 2-3 hours of just dragging, naming, and clicking, and oh, it was painful, but it worked, and I'm really glad I did it, because I do think it saved over 3 hours in the long term. I would have saved even longer if we played in the world for even longer. This train entrance here is sort of underneath the terrain, and I think it's time to get to the main base itself. We have the train track coming around over this side for the final side. I never actually went much out this way, but we have the trains going out on both sides at least, with the terrain being all completed up. And let's start from the inside, where this is the first part of the mega base I built, and it is the train hub. This is that central part of my storage where the trains come in, they drop off items that goes up into the storage that we're going to get to here in a second. And this is really not my style of build, this giant sort of build, so I really struggled with this, but I think it turned out pretty good. There's definitely a lack of detail, and that was one of the things that I struggled with, but I do still like it, and I do think that it's fine being pretty simple. Ton of fog effect, and we're actually in a circle right now that I dug out that I think is 100 by 100 in diameter, and I dug out about half of it by hand, and the rest is actually used by a drill. And the floor, the fog, I actually also used to drill because that was taking so long, and it was pretty boring. But moving up, I used a lot of chain conveyors here, moving into the actual storage room, which this storage room is amazing. If you haven't seen that video, you should really go check it out. I also have a video on my second channel completely explaining the storage, which you should also really check out. And basically this is a super fast, pretty much instant storage. I want redstone, request. And redstone. Now it came from the 3 different barrels, so it took a little longer. But you see what I mean with that being super fast. And that probably came from the vaults over there. And the way this works is by using sort of telekinetic power thing. Basically, if you use contraptions, you can get instant item movement by depositing items through portable storage interfaces. So whenever I request something over here, that box is going to travel out into this portable storage interface, into this one, which goes into the barrel that's down here. And instantly, as soon as it goes into this barrel from this one up here, the portable storage interface all the way over here will be able to take it out and route that package into this one, which is the same thing, just up here, and I can get that resource. It's such a cool system, and it worked really good. I'm probably building one of these in season 2 as well. Then this is my temporary workshop that became my forever workshop. I shouldn't have made this as good as I did. Yeah, I never completed the interior of the mega base, unfortunately. This was one thing I really wanted to complete, but by the time I said I'm gonna do it, I sat down, I tried working it out, and I just couldn't, and I went and played in my forever world because I was actually having fun there. But that is pretty much all for the storage and the interior. We have this wall up here, which is the stock or the factory gauges for the trains delivering items back here, but that is about it for the interior. And for the exterior, again, a build style which I not really do with these giant builds. I think it turned out great. I'm so happy. I spent a ton of hours on this, but I am so happy with how this turned out. I think we gotta hop into free cam here just to show this really easily. Got some giant chimney stacks. We've got a pretty simple block palette, but I think it's just executed really well. There's a bunch of details around with some antennas. There is diagonals, there's different shapes, there's things happening. It's just, I really like how this build turned out. I got some help from a friend named Benji, which was of massive help. I really enjoyed this build, and like I spent months working up to this, and it was definitely worth it. All of the custom terrain around here is designed by me, of course, and this was kind of like the grand plan for this base, to have a ton of custom terrain to just support this structure, and then eventually this custom terrain would go out in all directions, and like I'll have my farms, my factories, and everything spread out on it. It is one of my favorite builds that I've done. I do unfortunately think that the castle back at spawn tops it, even though I spent a lot more time on this, but that's fine. Right, back to the walking path though. I actually did get that up into the mountain here, where walking over this way we have the entrances that I never actually got working because they aren't just doors. They were meant to be like create contraption doors. They get the fan spinning though, which is a cool detail. Then I had some factories up here as well because I wanted to build some factories. I've got a simple little mud factory here that takes water from this little lake pond thing that goes down into the river down here and eventually stems from further up the mountain. And I do really like this build. Fairly different from other things, but I was experimenting a little bit, found some pictures on Pinterest, and I had fun creating it. Then we have the build next door to this, which is a sort of greenhouse, which is the output for my moss farms, which is where I move them. So they are sort of down here. I built a brand new, this is a bone meal only farm. Then over here underneath the terrain, I have a pale moss farm and a moss farm. I move these over here when creating the mountains because I needed more pale moss, and I also just moved the moss one because simplicity. And that's all connected into a storage into this greenhouse, which I love decorating, and I love the atmosphere in here. You got the sniffer, which you can get request the actual items out of. And yeah, I just really like the interior of this, and using the pipes for like the water and stuff to be moved around. Same with the exterior, it being the greenhouse here on the outside. Just really fun. I love using copper to make greenhouses with the white glass inside of that, and just some really cozy areas. I wanted even more factories up here, but I never got around to making them, unfortunately. Back through here though, we're coming over to the main entrance. Again, not working, never actually hooked it up. Continuing on this path, we have my Beardy Power Co substation, which is where the base power comes from. And yeah, there's just that little machine in here that sits and grabs that power. This building is very much inspired by Beardy's power station. I added a little bit of the touch to myself to it, but it is pretty much just his power station just scaled down, which I really thought was a fun idea. Brings that into the area and makes it feel like something that they constructed. And yeah, that is really it. I think I don't think I'm missing much building wise. There's probably things that I've done in the world that I've not covered, but I would like to say that this is most of it, and it's crazy to see. I mean, I spent full work weeks in this world just playing for months, and it's a bit sad to see it come to an end, especially not having fully finished everything I wanted to do. But at the same time, I'm really excited for season 2. I'm really excited. I'm really happy, and I'm really enjoying playing in my forever world at the moment, just building and actually playing vanilla for once. I've got some plans for a create mod one-off video here in a few months probably. That should be a fun video though, and like I said earlier, spring 2026 is when season 2 of Just Create should start. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna continue my forever world alongside that, and well, thank you for joining me for this world tour. I would actually really appreciate if you had any pointers on how I do world tours in the future, because I plan to do a world tour about every 10 days, I think, inside of my forever world. That's mainly going to be uploaded on the second channel and not the main channel. But yeah, if you have any things that you thought would be really cool to see, or like if there's something that I do that is really annoying for when showcasing builds and stuff like that, or if I'm bad at showcasing builds, whatever, really, just any feedback. I'm rambling. But without further ado, thank you so much for watching today. And as always, thank you to all of my supporters, and thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.